Good afternoon. You're watching NTV at One. My name is Olive Burrows. Detectives from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission have this morning raided and searched the Nairobi and Samburu homes and offices of the county governor, Moses Lenol Kulal. They've carted away documents as the probe into the spending of some 2 billion shillings of the county's money continues. Various other officials, including the governor's personal assistant and county officials, including the county assembly speaker, also had their offices and residences raided. Brenda Wanga was at the governor's Nairobi residence, and she now joins us from the NTV Kenya newsroom. Brenda, what were you able to glean from speaking to the officers?
Well, you're right. We were at the governor's Nairobi residence, which is in Karen 4 Acres Road this morning, where we witnessed EACC officials carrying out that search and raid of his homes here in the capital city. We did witness the EACC cut out documents in a van, but this search had actually started at around 5:30 in the morning up until 10 a.m. When they eventually did take away the documents that they had come to look for, documents that they believe hold crucial leads and information that will help them unravel what they call as gross embezzlement of funds amounting to close to 2 billion shillings. Now, these funds, the EACC says, can be categorized into two cases where county officials are said to have registered companies and had been awarded contracts worth over 700 million shillings for works that were not done. The other batch of about 1 billion shillings contracts issued to contractors for works that were either half done or not done at all. So this information that they gleaned from the houses of the governor here in Nairobi, back in Samburu, are very crucial to them. They tell us that they hope that this will help them actually unravel this mystery of 2 billion shillings lost in just a span of over 4 years. Olive?
Thank you for that brief. Brenda Wanga speaking to us from the NTV Kenya newsroom. On to health matters, the Ministry of Health and the Council of Governors have continued to pile pressure on the striking nurses to return to work as the nurses union maintains the strike is still on. The employers have threatened to take disciplinary action against nurses who have defied court and presidential orders to resume duty. In a joint press statement, the Health Cabinet Secretary Cecily Kariuki and the Chairman of the Council of Governors, Wycliffe Oparanya, say that the nurses will be dismissed for failure to resume work and will not be rehired either by the national or county governments. The threat comes amid a headcount exercise in counties of striking health workers, with some nurses having already received show cause letters. We now cross over to Silas Apollo. Silas has been following the Foreign Affairs CS Monica Juma's appearance before the Foreign Relations Committee of the National Assembly. Silas, what came out of that sitting?
Yes, Olive Burrows, just as you said it, of course, we've been here, of course, at the National Assembly's Defense and Foreign Relations Committee, of course, which was meeting with the Foreign Affairs CS Monica Juma. Some of the issues that she was expected to speak about, of course, is the ongoing row between Kenya and Somalia, of course, on the territorial border, and, of course, a number of issues that have been happening. Kenya recalling its ambassador to Somalia, and also Somalia also recalling its ambassador who's been in Kenya. Of course, also the CS was also speaking about the budget policy statement, of course, that is on the financing of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for the 2019-2020 financial year. Of course, besides the CS, the ministry was also meeting, the committee was also meeting the ministry official from the Ministry of Defense and all that. But the most interesting one, of course, was that of the CS, of course, Monica Juma, was asked about the row between Kenya and Somalia. Of course, she says that unlike some of the reportage that we've been having, the row is much deeper than a diplomatic SAP, the recalling of ambassadors, and that it goes beyond the diplomatic SAP. Is a matter of national interest and national importance. Of course, if you look at the concerns and the accusations that have been leveled against Somalia, one of them being the auctioning of the oil and gas territories, of course, that are belonging to Kenya and all that stuff. So she says that it's quite a big issue. Of course, the committee was a bit lenient with her today. They say that, of course, she, due to the short notice, of course, and due to the enormous responsibility, of course, that the committee has today in terms of meeting all the other departments and ministries, she's been given time to give a detailed response tomorrow, of course, on what are the roles, what are the issues, what are the challenges that have been there before, and of course the accusations by Somali, of course, and also on the matter, remember the matter is before the International Court of Jurists at The Hague. But also the most important thing, of course, she talked about, you remember the 6 ambassadors, of course, were said to have been rejected by their missions, of course, their host countries. This one include former DCI, of course, Ndegwa Muhoro, former CS for Sports, former Hassan Wari, of course. There have been issues around corruption allegations, of course, and issues about the integrity, and so their foreign countries, of course, their host countries had rejected them. Of course, Monica Juma refutes that. She says that the CSA, of course, the ambassadors have reported to the stations, and like previous concerns that had been raised on whether they had been rejected or not. That, of course, some may, of course, some as a political statement, which she was trying to be politically correct. Whether that is the case or not, we not be able to tell that as at now. But what she says is that they've all reported to their to their host countries. Also, the issue was about the poor financing, of course, not really poor financing, but low budgetary allocation to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. There's been a lot of concerns in terms of the number of foreign missions that the country has abroad, also in terms of the expenditure that the foreign ministries have. Of course, she says that the ministry has been requiring double of what it has been given. You remember, it has been given, she says the ministry has been given about 15 billion shillings, but they want about 38 billion shillings to be able to, of course, do their mandate. I remember Kenya has about, I think, less than 50 foreign missions abroad, of course, which she says, unless for a country like Kenya, of course, which has a long standing, of course, and a big standing in the international realm. So we'll be keeping tabs on all these issues. Of course, we expect to see how it pans out, especially the committee meeting tomorrow on what are the issues regarding the Kenya-Somali relations, which is an issue of national importance. Of course, even as the two countries await the judgment from the International Court of Justice in The Hague. Back to you, Olive.
Thank you, Silas. That was quite the comprehensive brief. Now, to security matters. Administration and security officers from West Pokot and Turkana counties have held a meeting at Kainuk in Turkana County to contain the escalating insecurity along that border. This comes after reports of 3 deaths and cattle rustling in the villages around the border. Leila Mohammed has that report.
Vehicular patrols by security officers are a common sight along the border of Turkana and West Pokot counties, a region that has seen bloodshed, loss of lives and heartache for residents on either side of the divide. Fresh efforts to calm the tension in the area and silence the guns is happening. The heavy police presence notwithstanding, the area leadership wants the wave of crime in the area to stop.
Na wasi musichoke. Na hata sisi hatujachoka, na ndiposa tuko hapa kama kamati ya usalama. Kuna mwingine nimesikia akisema watu fulani hawako hapa hawajakonsultiwa. Hapana, hii ilikuwa ni mkutano wa security ya watu wa Kainuk ambayo inaongozwa na security team ya county ya West Pokot na county yenyu.
Led by West Pokot County Commissioner Apollo Okello and Turkana Central Deputy Commissioner Alex Mativo, the officers have come up with resolutions to help curb insecurity incidents along the Turkwell corridor. At the beginning of the week, police officers battled bandits for hours when responding to reports of raid in one of the villages in Kainuk. A number of civilians were shot at by the bandits. Security officers are now warning the political leadership against incitement.
Kati ya leo na siku sijazo mutakuwa na askari ya kutosha hapa. Mutakuwa na ile gari ya kupatrol area hii kuhakikisha kwamba wale wahalifu ambao wanataka kufuruga amani sehemu hii hawezi pata nafasi.
However, locals complained that lack of peace in the region has disrupted activities. The insecurity situation, they say, has forced them to flee their homes. They say innocent people have been caught up in the attacks and travelers have been shot. Leila Mohammed, NTV.
Back to Parliament, where Vincent Odwori is covering the various government agencies that are appearing before the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee on the budget policy statement. According to the brief received from Vincent, the judiciary has already appeared and they say they have a deficit of 5.2 billion shillings. Let's listen in.
247 million for the ICT, 35 million for signature verification. Now, I think what you might need to do when actually CEO is, as you have done for judiciary, in terms of which one should come first. Suppose we were to give you 100 million, for example, what do we begin with? Not to mention.
To Nakuru County now, where the Building Bridges Task Force is currently holding a citizen engagement forum. Nakuru is the 17th county in which the task force has engaged the public in a push to collect views that would guide the government in promoting peace and equality. Bridget Ngana joins us with the latest from Nakuru. Bridget, what are some of the thoughts that have been shared during the session?
Well, Olive, just as you've mentioned, Nakuru becomes the 17th stop for the 14-member Building Bridges Initiative Task Force that was set in place after the historic March 9th, 2018 handshake at the front of Harambee House between the president and the opposition leader Raila Odinga. But I'm joined on set right now with one of the administrative secretaries of this task force, Mr. Paul Mwai, who's just going to give us a brief on what are the emerging issues that have come up in the 17 counties that they've been able to engage the public in this push to unite the country. Thank you so much. Can you just keep us to speed with what has been happening?
Okay, we started this morning, and so far we have been dealing with shared prosperity. We've dealt with inclusivity. We have 4 topics that are coming on in the afternoon. Corruption and devolution are coming up in the afternoon. So for now, I cannot say what is a full report on what the people of Nakuru are saying. But we were in Baringo yesterday, and the themes that are recurrent among citizens, issues of devolution and corruption and divisive elections. Because divisive elections usually translates into security, and that is one of the things that really people feel very strongly about.
Maybe apart from the divisive elections, what else are the people of Kenya calling out for when you engage them, because they have been talking to you even about their local problems?
Well, you get different variations of for instance, we dealt with shared prosperity and security this morning, and when it comes to issues of security in Nakuru, you hear more about land and about possibly people who have been displaced and whether they feel they have been adequately compensated, issues about titling, and again you hear people who were possibly translocated out of compensation and are complaining that the titling has never been done. But land seems to revolve a lot. A lot of the issues of security are revolving on land.
You began your exercise meeting the public pretty late from the time the task force was constituted. Do you believe that before the year ends, Kenyans will have the report that will compile all the 47 counties in the task force, and the recommendations will be ready before the year ends?
Most definitely before the year ends. Though we started late, we have done our leg tours in such a way that we are going to complete this sometime in May. What is becoming most likely is that we might have to ask for an extension of a month or 2, because we need to sit down and take in everything we have had and write reports, the report that we are going to be submitting. But beginning next month, we shall be sitting with experts that we are about to retain, so that we work together with them on what has gone on previous reports that have been engaged in, and various attempts that have been engaged in the past to do the same things that we are doing. And we hope by the time we get to May and have listened to all the counties, within a month or 2, we shall have a full report to present.
Thank you. Olive, that was Paul Mwai, one of the administrative secretaries of this task force, and he says one of the things that has emerged in the 17 counties they have visited so far is the issue of divisive elections, and they do believe that once they consult with previous task forces that have undertaken a similar exercise, they'll be able to come up with a report that will not only be beneficial to the country, but in a sense it will be implemented so that the people can really feel the impact of their voices through this task force. Olive.
Thank you, Bridget. Bridget Ngana there in Nakuru, where the Building Bridges Task Force is taking views from members of the public. Now to Kisii, where President Uhuru Kenyatta and the opposition leader Raila Odinga have taken the Building Bridges Initiative campaign. The president is set to meet with local leaders and launch a number of projects, including the newly refurbished Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital. Oko Kusa has been covering that for us. Oko, what is the mood?
Of course, as expected, the mood here is that of apprehension. The residents are seeing the president actually for the first time after he was re-elected in 2017. And of course, that has come with a lot of excitement in the sense that he is accompanied by opposition leaders who mentioned there, Raila Odinga. And again, the deputy president, William Ruto, is also in the entourage. So it is sort of a big thing for the people of this region, seeing the three leaders in the same function at the same time. So as we speak now, the president is holding a closed-door meeting with the local leaders at Kisii High School, the president together with the deputy and the opposition leader. And then we expect them to come down here at the Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital, where the main event of the day is supposed to happen. That is supposed to happen any moment from now. And even as you can hear in the background, preparations are already in top gear. And besides the politics that we expect also to feature in today's event, being that this is the first time opposition leader Raila Odinga and the deputy president William Ruto are actually sharing a podium after failing to read from the same script as far as the referendum debate is concerned. So we expect maybe issues to do with the referendum to feature in today's event here, Olive. But besides politics, there's also the issue of development. This is a newly refurbished Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospitals, as you mentioned there again. And there's a number of projects that have been set up here, and the county government, as we speak, has sort of entered into some MOU with the Kisii University, where the university will be operating a school of medicine here. And that is expected to benefit a lot of students and, of course, a lot of residents here too. We are talking about a facility that is going to serve 2,500 outpatients daily. And we are speaking of regions like, of course, here in Kisii County, the neighboring Nyamira County, Homa Bay, Migori, and Narok counties, all are set to benefit from this newly refurbished facility. Besides that, we are also talking of a new hostel. As you can see behind there, there's a new hostel that has been set up to accommodate doctors and interns. Here where we are standing on the right, there's a male ward with the bed capacity of 250. And also a cancer center that has been built at a cost of 2.25 billion shillings. So there's a lot of projects here at the facility which have the county government here is priding itself for setting up, and those are the things that the president will be launching when he gets here in a few minutes' time, Olive.
Thank you, Kusa. And we also look forward to that visit. I'm sure plenty of stories will be coming out of Kisii today. Now, a section of the Dongo Kundu bypass in Changamwe, Mombasa County has been damaged following an early morning accident. The Kenya National Highways Authority Regional Director, Jared Makori, says a truck lost control, causing damage to the airport shelter. The bypass was built at a cost of 12.4 billion shillings to help evacuate cargo from the port of Mombasa and decongest the Mombasa to Nairobi highway. Phase 2 and 3 of the bypass, which will consist of a dual carriageway and will cost around 30 billion shillings, is funded by the Kenya government and the government of Japan. It will provide an alternative for commuters crossing from Mombasa to Kwale, which will reduce congestion on the ferries. Now, more than 30 tenants have been evicted from their homes at the Kenya Railways Club this morning. This follows a row involving the Kenya Railways Club pension scheme. Anita Nkonge is at the site of the demolition for the details. Anita, what is the point of contention?
Thank you, Olive. Now I'm standing here, and according to the tenants, at around 5:30 this morning, they were evicted by an unidentified group of people. They evicted them, and they claim that they had not been given any notice. I'm standing here with the general manager, who could explain to us a bit more what has happened and also explain to us the contention between the club and the pension scheme. Can you please explain to us what has just happened?
Thank you. I may not say much about what has happened or what's happening, but with the best of my knowledge, I know issues in contention evolve around the relationship between Nairobi Railway Club as a members club and the Kenya Railway Staff Retirement Benefit Scheme. As of now, I know matters touching on the relationship are in court. That being the case, it will not be in order for me to discuss further.
What happens to the tenants from here?
Of course, tenants from here, those who are aggrieved will return to the railway club management for way forward. And when that time comes, due process will be taken.
How about the course of action moving forward on your part?
Moving forward, matters are in court. And we can only fall back to what is in court. That is what I can say. Yes.
Thank you. Well, there you have it, Olive. Having spoken to tenants earlier, so many are so distraught, not knowing where exactly they're going to go. In fact, right now we're standing at the swimming pool area. Businesses are being affected, like the swimming pool area that is part of the Lunar Hotel. I will be sure to give you this and more information in our subsequent bulletins, but for now, back to you in studio.
Thank you, Anita. Anita is one of NTV's rising stars. Now, the Parliamentary Health Committee Chair Sabina Chege says the government should get rid of middlemen in order to reduce the cost of drugs in the country, which is weighing heavily on Kenyans. This is one of the many teething problems affecting the pilot phase of universal health coverage. Sharon Baranga spoke to the MP for more on this and joins us live now from the Safari Park Hotel. Sharon, what more did the MP have to say?
Yes, Olive, we are at Safari Park attending the first Pan-African Conference on Social and Behavior Change happening in the country. Already over 500 delegates from Anglophone countries on the continent are in attendance, and they're just here to share knowledge and ideas on how social behavior change can catalyze development by addressing problems affecting the continent, such as gender-based violence, gender discrimination, and also diseases that are still major killers on the continent, such as HIV, malaria, and infant mortality. The current situation in the health sector was also discussed at length, the nurses' strike, and the government was put to task on the nurses' strike, which has affected a number of counties in the last 2 weeks since the nurses withdrew their services from public hospitals. And some of the delegates were of the opinion that an investor cannot really put in money in a sector that is always affected or constantly hit by strikes or workers withdrawing their services from their working stations. Universal health coverage was also discussed at length. It is a program that was launched in December last year by President Uhuru Kenyatta in the piloting stage, and we have around 4 counties, that is Kisumu, Isiolo, Nyeri, and Machakos. Now, in the universal health coverage, we also experiencing some problems. I was able to talk to the chair of the Parliamentary Health Committee, Sabina Chege, who had this to say. Listen in.
It's a collective responsibility, not just about the government, not just about the people. It's also good for the people to know it's their right to demand for good health care. And of course, when they go to a facility, if you don't find a doctor, it's good to report. If you delay for such a long time, we need to report. We need to decongest our referrals, because our referrals has become the first stop, the first stop. Instead of it being that you have been referred, anyone can walk into Kenyatta, anyone can walk into Moi Teaching Referral. So we need to really rework on our referral services, make sure that we put in the budget. This budget have keenly followed on the conversation that we need to empower the community health volunteers so that then they can be community health workers. But it's a transition, so how much then do we need, even if it's unconditional grant do we need to give to the county government? But the other question is, are we honest to give the real numbers that we have for these community health workers? Because every opportunity that we say we want to empower them, then some people will come in and give crazy numbers. You come and say you have 10,000 and you know you have 1,000 or 500.
So in the next 2 days, we will be stationed here to bring you more updates on what will be happening in the Pan-African Conference. For now, back to you, Olive.
And a very important conversation. Now, residents of Molem in Dandora held a meeting with the Kiambu Dandora group in an attempt to settle a protracted land dispute that has had the two groups at loggerheads for several years. The residents and the Kiambu Dandora group have claimed ownership of the land on which some families live, with a court order on the issue unable to quiet the nerves on both sides.
The meeting held at Superloaf Primary School comprised of National Land Commission officials, Njiro Security Committee led by Njiru Deputy County Commissioner Joseph Omuti, the Kayole OCPD Joseph Kishangi, and the residents of the area. Also present at the meeting was Embakasi West MP George Theory, who proposed that the two groups come up with a leadership committee that will represent both the Kiambu Dandora group and the Dandora housing residents.
We have the 225 stakeholders, ama shareholders, while both companies in a claim represent. If we are going to proceed, we will sit down with the 225 members. Kama wako live ama hawa kwa live. Hiyo sasa ni kazi ya Bwana DC na timu yake. Kukaa chini kuwauliza sasa, sisi tuko hapa, what is the next way forward?
The Kiambu Dandora group has insisted in the past that it rightly owns the land in contention, but the residents have been adamant, saying that they cannot surrender the land. Helen Wanjohi, NTV.
Kenya is inching closer to issuing its first green bond. That is after the Capital Markets Authority and the Nairobi Securities Exchange launched the amended rules of listing and a policy note. These two will guide how the bonds will be issued and also ensure that the proceeds are used to finance projects that do not harm the environment. Now, Victor Kiprop joins us now live with more on this. Victor, I take it a green bond has something to do with the environment?
All right, certainly, Olive. The Kenya's first ever green bond is suddenly all systems go already to be issued later or mid this year. Remember, this is a process that began early as 2017, but the biggest hindrance to the issuance of the bond has always been lack of regulations. Being a first to be issued on the market, there were lack of a framework to guide this issuance. But today, the Capital Markets Authority has also approved the listing amendments to listing rules by the Nairobi Securities Exchange, and had also published a guidance note that will guide how green bonds will now be issued on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Remember, a green bond is just an ordinary, like any other bond, with a maturity, with an interest with like any other bond. The only difference is that the proceeds will be used to finance projects that have favorable impact on the environment as countries continue to fight climate change. Remember, Kenya is a signatory to the Paris Agreement of 2015, where more than 196 countries actually committed to fighting climate change, and the Capital Markets Authority of Kenya is also a member of the Marrakesh Pledge, where capital market authorities from around the world committed to develop green-based products in order, like including green equity and green bonds, as countries continue to fight climate change around the world. So for the moment, it looks like it's all systems go for Kenya's and even Eastern Africa's first ever green bond. The only difference is we have not been given a timeline on when it will be launched, but the Kenya Bank Association believes that they will be able to launch the bond maybe mid this year or before the end of the year, Olive.
Thank you, Victor. As you can see, just a taste of the comprehensive news bulletins we're preparing for you later in the day. But first, let's capture the sports news with Sean Kadovilis.
Niaje. Want to invest in a biashara?